So welcome to the April DCBUZZ. We do this every month, and I did last month's. If you didn't see last month's, it was on how to make the best use of your time here at DCBS to help you get a job, find clients, and create passive income streams. And we had a massive resource directory that we sent out, like a 26-page resource directory that we went through. And so we've done a lot of them, everything from animal handlers to firearm safety to we brought in indie film producers and television showrunners, and we're getting ready to do one coming up here on stock footage. So these are pretty cool, and they're open to the entire school, but primarily, DCBS does this. So tonight we're going to talk about NAB recap. Hopefully Mo's going to join us tonight. Mo, are you here by any chance? Let me see if I can see. No, I don't see you here. We have one of our students who lives in Vegas who went yesterday to NAB for the first time. So it's pretty interesting. And so for those of you who don't know me, my name is Randy Baker. I'm the course director for composition and visual design. CVD is the class where you get your camera. You get your camera 2 days before my class. So everybody starting in the class this month got their camera today or within the last couple of days here. So and you get a new Sony FX6 camera, which is like a fabulous camera. It's like there's a big buzz in the industry right now about this. We can't advertise the camera that we're giving up this camera yet because Sony's shipping about 85 to 90% of all the cameras, the FX6s, to us. So people in the industry who want this camera, and there are a lot of DPs who want it, they can't get it. They've been on back order, and Sony is saying December now before they really begin to clear out that backlog. So it's a big boom for us, and we really push to get this camera. And it's, you got to understand that only 1% of the colleges in the United States give their students their own camera. And so that's going to propel this. And by the way, we own all three of those colleges, LA Film School and Rocky Mountain Film School and Full Sail. This is going to push the DCBS degree program up into the top one or two, digital cinematography programs in the United States. So it's a really big boom for you guys too when you start getting out of school. But what you're going to find is with this camera, you can actually, a lot, especially for those of you who live in medium to small markets. If you're going to do an internship or production hours or something for a production company locally, chances are you're probably going to have a better camera than they have. So it's a real game changer in the industry. So let's talk. Anybody ever been to NAB? Any of you guys ever been to NAB? I haven't been in about 3 years since the pandemic hit. I didn't want to go this year. And we'll talk a little bit about NAB. NAB stands for the National Association of Broadcasters. It's the largest professional broadcast group in the world. The convention here is the largest convention in the United States for, and it's the largest convention in the world for, film and television and streaming and broadcast, basically. There's a couple big conventions like this. They just started doing one in New York now as well for NAB, but there's also one called IBC in Amsterdam that is kind of the European version of NAB. 100,000 vendors, which is down from 2019. There were about 2,000 vendors in 2019. There were 52,468 participants who signed up this year, attendees who signed up. Again, that's half of what it was in 2019. There were close to 100,000 people that attend this convention. 100,000 people. Now think about that. And they take up pretty much every convention center in LA, any hotel rooms, convention halls and stuff like that. If you go there, it's like an incredible event. And there's parties, and all the big manufacturers every night throw big galas and parties and stuff. So it's just a really great place to go and meet people and get to know the companies. But more importantly, it's where most of the new equipment is introduced, or traditionally has been. With the pandemic, that's kind of changed, and now things are trickling out more and more. Next year, 2023, it turns 100, believe it or not. So it's a pretty cool convention, and I would highly recommend that anybody gets a chance to go there. You go there. You can go to the exhibit floor for free. You just have to sign up. They do workshops, massive amounts of workshops, and those you have to pay for, but you can get into the convention floors for free. And I have to tell you this, in 2018, when I was there, I went to the convention floor the first day it opened. And I got there. I was one of the first people in the room. I left every day when they kicked me out, basically. And I was there 4 days, and I didn't get to see, I saw only about 3/4 of the stuff that was there. It's that large a show. And it's like anybody who's anybody in the world of streaming and video and television and film, equipment manufacturers, all the big companies, B&H and Adorama and Film Tools, and everybody's there with big giant booths, all the big manufacturers. So it's like, it's a visual overload. You come away after 4 days of that just being exhausted. I think last time I was there, I shipped back over 100 pounds of material from NAB, and you can buy stuff off the floor at discounts because they don't want to ship that stuff back, so you can get really good discounts. And so each year they introduce new trends, and this year, the show, like I said, it was about half the people that were there. This year, the major new trends were really the future of TV, C2C, and virtual productions. And we'll talk a little bit about those. And so have you guys heard of camera to cloud before? Anybody heard camera to cloud, C2C, C2C? Anybody? You're going to hear a lot about that over the next year. This is going to be the big discussion. And so traditionally, and we'll talk a little bit about that going on, traditionally, you have a very straight production workflow. But now with camera to cloud, you can upload directly from the camera to the cloud. You can the DIT on a set can upload to the cloud. Your post-production people can upload to the cloud. You can collaborate with anybody. And one of the big things that happened here in the last year that made that happen was a company called Frameio. Anybody ever heard of that company, Frameio? Yeah. So Frameio was bought this year by Adobe, and it's a collaboration company. And before we get into this, I just want to bring up one thing here. Let me pull it up for you so I can show you this. There are a couple things that I think everybody should have as resources, and Frameio Workflow is one of them. And this is a production guide that they put out, real-time Frameio video post-production workflow. This is it. Start reading. So here we go. I'm going to share this with you, and this is the website. You need to go there and you need to download this. It's called the workflow.frame.io/guide. Yeah, let's see. Proceed without email. And so this is the most comprehensive production workflow that's written out that you'll never see. It literally goes from conception through capture, and all the codecs. It walks you through everything, the cost, prep for all the stuff. It's got workflow after workflow after workflow after workflow, and it just goes on and on and on, all the way through post-production, color correction. So if you want to know about the workflow for any type of post-production from capture to a distribution, this is the guide, and they've got all kinds of great case studies in there. So this is probably the most comprehensive workflow I've ever seen, and it's free from Frameio. Now, I have a good friend who just joined Frameio, who used to be the head of technology at Panavision. And he was one of the guys who helped develop the Venice camera, and he just came on board as a vice president of technology for Frameio. So you're going to see the collaboration between Frameio and Adobe being a big thing. And this year, Frameio teamed up with a bunch of people, Atmos and Blackmagic and Premiere Pro, obviously that they own, to really roll out this big new camera to cloud. And basically what we're talking about is being able to upload your footage directly from your camera to a cloud. So you can record in SD cards and stuff like that, but you don't need to anymore. And so there's a lot of big things happening. And along with that, Blackmagic Design, everybody thought Blackmagic Design this year was going to introduce a big box camera. They thought everybody was waiting for Blackmagic Design to come out with a box camera, kind of like the Red or the Confinity or something like that. And they didn't. Instead, they introduced something called the Blackmagic Design Cloud Store, which is a 20 gigabyte storage system to be able to do collaborative filmmaking with DaVinci Resolve. It's pretty cool. And then Atmos came out with this new thing called Connect for both the Ninja 5 and the Ninja 5 Plus and the Shogun that will allow you to go directly to the cloud from the Shogun and the Ninja 5. So it's a big thing. Yeah, it's pretty cool. Yeah, Frame.io is really, it's a software company for collaboration for advanced software. And the thing you need to know about all of this is that, just 5 or 6 years ago, collaboration was a thing for big studios. It wasn't affordable. So if you wanted to and the studios used it all the time. They would do the music in London, and they do the graphics and the animation in China, and then they, do the post-production in New York and the production in LA, and they were collaborating back and forth. Today, it's become much more easy to do thanks to companies like Frame.io. So I'm a big proponent of that. NAB also talked a lot about this year about the future of TV, specifically with streaming television. And so there's all kinds of streaming, platforms out there. SVOD, streaming video on demand. That's the big thing. That's the Netflix and the Amazons and the Hulus and all of those. Those are the big studios now. Those are taking the place of the large movie studios, and you're seeing them, reaping more and more rewards at places like the Oscar and the Golden Globes and Cannes and all those places. And you'll see that continue to go. But as you're seeing already, and this was very apparent in the last couple of weeks, Netflix reported their first loss ever of customers, and their stock took this massive, like 30-some% dive in just a couple of days. And so what did they talk about? They were going to make it cheaper and go to ads for the thing. And that's called AVOD. So those were the two big things at NAB that people were talking about this year, AVOD and SVOD. But there's all different kinds of, over the top kind of streaming services that are out there. And you're going to see that become bigger and bigger and bigger. All the networks are jumping on board of the cable. Eventually, the trend will be getting rid of cable television as we know it and going to mostly streaming. So it's really really interesting what's going on. And then, of course, the other big trend right now is virtual production. Do any of you know about virtual production? Any of you know what a volumetric set is? Any of you ever seen a volumetric set? Pretty cool. Well, and the coolest thing about it all is Full Sail just built the first volumetric set for a school in the world. And we just opened it up about a month ago. Kyle Frazier, who a lot of you may have had for electronic field production, documentary production here, just took over as the head of the production of that studio. And it's pretty cool. And I got a little picture in here. Here's what it looks like. Here's our volumetric set. And they've already done a small indie feature on it. And if you're a student and you want to use that set and you want to come to Orlando, you can actually book the set. And so the key to this, and if you are familiar with, movies like The Mandalorian, the series like The Mandalorian stuff, that was really what brought volumetric production to the forefront. But today, there are probably, a couple hundred volumetric stages in the United States. And what NAB they were talking about, which is really interesting, it was not these large, massive volumetric sets. This takes up one whole end of a soundstage. And it's not only got the 180-degree LED screens here, but it also has a overhead LED. And so the screens themselves become lighting sources, and then you have other sources that you can bring in. And then if you put practical sets in there, then it's like you're there. And the cameras are all, we got the new Arri large frame cameras and the large frame lenses. We're again one of the first schools in the world to be using those. And it's interdisciplinary. So the gaming degree programs, the graphic design and art degree programs, the film and digital cinematography degree programs. So everybody is coming together to use the set. So if you want to use the set, you can actually book time on the set to shoot productions with a lot of pre-production involved, but it's super, super cool. And this is the future of productions. If you haven't done this, just look up the volumetric sets and The Mandalorian and start reading that stuff. And so the cool thing about this is they use gaming engines. So Unreal Engine is the big one right now. And if you don't know this, if you're into gaming at all, if you want to get into this, Unreal Engine is free for students. If you didn't know that, you can download Unreal Engine and use it for free. That's a little sophisticated to just jump in and start using, but it's pretty cool that you can download this and use it for free. So just make sure you understand that. And if you want to really kind of get into that and see where you're at, if you got a little indie film or a short film you want to do, this is the kind of thing that you could really use it for. And you can go out there and just type in indie films and volumetric sets. Now, but the big thing in NAB that they were talking about was how this is going to change. And instead of being big volumetric sets, you're going to see smaller volumetric sets going into places. And they highlighted a place in Naples, Florida, which was a doctor's office, which was putting in a small volumetric set so the doctors could do, videos for their practice, where they could actually go in. It was a health clinic where they could actually go in and go inside the body and show that all in a volumetric set. And it took the size of like a couple closets. It wasn't that big. So it was a smaller wraparound volumetric set, which was pretty cool, and so there's a company called Diamond View in Tampa that has one of the bigger studios in the United States. They just announced plans to open up 40 of these volumetric stages in 40 different cities around the United States. So it's a big thing. It's, and so go out there and look at things like, jobs on volumetric sets. So it's a brand new technology that you can get out on the ground floor of, and it's the future of television. So those are the big things. Here's the workflow we're talking about. Here's your traditional production workflow. You have the camera, your on-set audio, you do all that, you transfer it usually through a DIT, and then it gets shipped back to the studio and is ingested into some servers, and then goes into editing, and then they put it into archive. So that's pretty traditional. Now you can go on set. You could go from ingesting, you could go to edit your post-production. Everybody can be working on the same thing at the same time, and it's all up on the cloud. So you want to do notes, the editorial people can be looking at what's coming off the set on dailies and say, okay, we have a problem with this, or we want you to do this a little bit different, or if you try the lighting a little bit better, it's going to work on this. And so it's a pretty remarkable difference in the workflow. It's like going from linear editing to nonlinear editing. That's what I describe it as back in the day. I grew up on movies, still had to cut and splice things. So, it's a big change for that. And of course, volumetric stages. And, start looking into this. It's really a big trend right now. There's so much gear that's introduced at NAB that there's no way that we can talk about all of it. So I want you to kind of, and it depends on what you do. Like, when I was doing the research for this, I was surprised that I found like an overview of new gear for churches from NAB. So all the vertical markets that are out there, when I talk about vertical markets, I'm talking about the church industry, the event photography industry, the military industry, the medical industry, the educational industry. And of course, there's, feature films and indie films and no budget films and, network television and cable television and streaming television and local television and regional television. There's all these vertical markets. And so there's gear set up for each of those. So these are the big companies. If you don't know these guys, B&H is the largest video and film sales company in the world. They take over an entire block in Manhattan, 3 stories. It's amazing. If you want some cool stock footage, go there at the end of the day after they close and go on the south side of the building. And it's owned by Hasidic Jews, and they employ a lot of Hasidic Jews, and they come in from the 5 boroughs on school buses. So every morning the school buses go and pick all these guys up, and then they come in and go to BH work. And then at the end of the day, they all come back out, and they've got the hats and the curls and stuff. And it's just, and I just happened to stumble across it one day, as I was leaving B&H, they kicked me out. And I went around the corner there, and there were all these guys getting on school buses. It was one of the coolest things I'd ever seen. But B&H is like this mecca for, if you go there, it's like a theme park, plan to spend the whole day there. Adorama is the same thing, but it's on the East Coast, a little bit smaller. And then no film schools, they do a really good overview. And then Production Hub. Do all of you guys know Production Hub? Anybody not know who Production Hub is? If you don't, you need to get on Production Hub. Okay, Production Hub is they're located here in Winter Park. Some old friends of mine that started the company, and they took off. I mean, there are 2 big companies that are database companies for film and television that have, crews and equipment and gear and all that stuff that you go and search on. And Mandy's was the original one. They also own Backstage, and you should sign up for Mandy's and Backstage because they list all kinds of jobs all the time. And then Production Hub is the biggest one. Production Hub has now become the biggest one at all. And of course, you should get listed on there. So if people are trying to find you, they can find you. But it's the directory that all the production people I know use if they're looking for crews or equipment or going to a different location. So it's one of those things that you can really get a lot out of. No Film School, obviously, the guy who started No Film School called me up 2 months after he started it, and we had a long conversation. And I said, "So are you really against not going to film school?" He goes, "Oh no, I went to film school. It wasn't as good a name saying film school, no film school, attracted more people." So it's one of those things. He actually went to film school, but they do a great job. And of course, my other two big ones are Studio Binder and Premium Beat, if you haven't checked those out as well. So usually there's a lot more cameras introduced in NAB, and this year there wasn't that many. And of course, like I said, the big thing that everybody was talking about was, oh, Blackmagic is going to introduce a box camera to compete with, like, the Venice and the Red and the Kinfinity and stuff like that. They didn't do that. Instead, they introduced this big cloud storage device. Sony introduced the Venice 2, which has been out for a while, but this is the high-end camera that's competing with the Mira large frame and the Panavision DSC camera that's out there. Those are the ones that if you look up a directory of just go in and say type in Google the top cameras used in 2021 Academy Award films, and you'll see there's a whole array of them, and they're mostly the Arri, Alexa, and LF, the one that Deakins won for 1917, and that was the first film that they used the Arri LFs on. But the Sony Venice is coming up as the big new boy. This is the high end of the Sony camera, and large, still full frame, not large frame yet. But this camera, a lot of the technology from this camera has filtered down into the FX6. The Cinetones hybrid gamma that they have on the FX6 came from the Sony Venice. That's what it was designed for. Sony traditionally was known for not having the best skin tone color. The skin tones kind of looked a little green. And so the new Venice, this new Cinetone, as well as some picture profiles in the older cameras like the FS5, really helped to do that. Canon introduced their EOS R5C. Again, it had been released a little bit before that. These two products were voted product of the year at NAB, the Venice 2 and the R5C. This is another, again, full frame digital cinema camera. That's a mirrorless camera. And again, my take on all this is always the same. These are still cameras that are shooting videos. These are video cameras that you pull high resolution stills from. If you're going to go one way or the other, go towards your video camera. By the time you put all the accessories on this camera that you need to make it a real video camera, it's probably going to be cheaper in the long run to buy a real video camera. Blackmagic didn't introduce any more pocket cinema cameras, any additions to the Canon cameras. Kinfinity, which is a company you've probably never heard of before, they introduced a whole new line of 8K cameras, which were pretty cool. And I think this is the Mira Live from Arri, and this is one of the big new camera to clouds. So this is one of the big new cameras that everybody's going to be talking about. If you're going to do live broadcasting, you want high-end cinematic looking cameras, this is the one you want. So it's really good. And Red, what was the new Red camera? They introduced, so it's the Raptor new Red camera. It's they just introduced a brand new one. And anybody know who Shane Hurlbut is? That name ring a bell to anybody? He's a big DP, and he's got a educational website called Filmmakers Academy. It used to be called the Hurlbut Academy. Did anybody ever hear the oh God, what's the guy who played Batman, who's the English guy that was on Terminator as well? So on Terminator, he was a DP on Terminator, and Bales, I think is the guy's name, but he went off on this DP. The DP was adjusting the lights during one of his scenes, and he freaked out on this guy and he screamed at him and ordered him off the set and stuff. And the audio guy, the audio department recorded all the audio, and Christian Bale. If you haven't seen that, just type in Christian Bale freaking out on Shane Hurlbut. But Shane was the guy he freaked out on, you know. But now Shane's making all this money doing Filmmakers Academy, but he just did a big unearthing of the new V Raptor camera. This is the brand new camera that Red just introduced up to it, and it does 6K and 8K. And again, 8K was one of those big topics at NAB that we saw this year. So that was it. And Kinfinity, like I said, if you haven't heard of that camera, that's a camera that you might want to look into. It's a pretty cheap, 8K camera. This was the, let me just go through this for you so I can show you a couple.
All right, guys, so we are here at NAB.
And then I'll show you a couple things in here. Here's the Canon camera that they just introduced. And this is a pretty sweet little camera. Now they have some nice cinema lenses on there, and it's a full frame camera. It does, it shoots really great video. Here's what the Blackmagic cloud looks like. This is it. And this is what NAB is like. So this is a 20 terabyte cloud drive. And so again, we talk about C2C. This is the big new thing that's going to be happening here. If we go in here, vegan friendly, what the heck is this one? I just want to show you this because he does a pretty good. The drones were a big thing in NAB. Everybody has, high-end drones. Everybody's, again, what you're seeing, the trends in drones are you're getting smaller drones that can shoot with higher resolution, 6K and 8K cameras, and of course, greater still images. Now, I want you to take a look at this because this is what NAB is really all about. This is B&H's booth at NAB, but I just want you to look at what he goes through here. Here's B&H's booth. Look at all the gear that's set up. It's just like, gear after gear after gear, and it's line after line after line of cameras. There are cameras everywhere that you see, and you can walk up and you can play with them. They've got models set up there so you can shoot them. Look at all those cameras. I mean, that's just amazing that you can go there and play. So if you're thinking about buying any gear, you can justify it to your significant other that, hey, I need to go to NAB. I need to go to Vegas for a convention. That's what I always say. I need to go to Vegas for a convention. Now, I every year that I went, I always spent like in another half a week there, going to, Utah up to the canyons and, or going up into the mountains, or, there's a ghost town right outside of Vegas. If you've never been to Vegas, one of the coolest things to do is they have the neon graveyard, which is all the old neon signs. You can go there at sunset, and it's just a beautiful place to go and shoot. Plus you got Red Rock and all that stuff. So Vegas is a pretty cool place. I'm not a gambler, so, that doesn't attract me, but there's all kinds of stuff to do. And I've been lucky enough that I've spent a lot of time in Vegas. I spent 2 months there for the Golf Channel shooting a show called The Top Golf Courses in Vegas with two 21-year-old blonde hustler, golfers, and they were merciful. They would go to these clubs and they would work the pro there and duff the balls and stuff, and then go, okay, well, and they would go, that's okay, you this is a tough course, and they go, well, I'm better at this. I'll bet you $100 I can beat you on the next hole. And they hustled these pros all day long. So it was a great opportunity to get to know Vegas inside and out. So there's a lot of stuff going on in Vegas. The new lenses. Canon was really the big company that released new lenses. Usually we see just a ton of new lenses. And DZL, which is a up-and-coming new company, introduced some new lenses, but there weren't a whole lot of lenses. And I just want to highlight two lenses here for you that are changes in the industry. And this is the important thing to go to NAB about, so you can see where the industry is going. Okay. And the first one was this dual fisheye 5.2 millimeter lens. It's a stereoscopic dual. So you can put it on like the 5 SC, and it will shoot two individual images. that you can use, or you can put them together with a VR headset and do 3D stereoscopic, production with one lens and one camera. You used to have two cameras. So that's a big new change for that. Now, why they made a 5.2 millimeter fisheye is beyond me, because it's got that big round kind of look to it. But more importantly, the big thing for me was the introduction of Canon introducing these two new cine zoom lenses. This is a 45 to 135 millimeter lens. Now, I didn't look this up, but I can tell you real fast, just out of curiosity, what these are going to run. You find your window, and I'm going to type in. I can't believe I knew I couldn't afford it, so probably that's why I didn't look it up. Canon Flex Zoom 45 to 135. Now they have two of them. They have a 45 to 135 and a 20 to 50. Let's see if I can get a cost on that for you. The 45 to 135, not as expensive as I thought. It's $22,000. So it's that's the 45 to 120. The 20 to 50 is $22,000, and that's in line with the Panasonic cinema lenses, zoom lenses. So these are T15s across the entire range, or T24s. They're not that fast. And T-stops are just a better way of looking at light. The f-stops are estimated. T-stops are the actual light hitting the sensor. So different ways to do that. High-end professional cinema lenses. Now, these go through severe quality control. I mean, these things are like, sharp as a tack all the way through the zoom thing. So you get what you pay for on this. It's a little expensive. For you guys, one of the big things that just came out was this new Sony 24-70 f2.8 G Master Series 2. This is Sony's new lens that they came out with, and I think this is right around 2000. Sony FE 24-70. And this is great for the X5. So, Orby, you were talking about, you got the new 70 to 200. So as a filmmaker and a photographer and DP, for my lens kits, usually what I have is a set of zoom lenses. And that zoom set usually goes from about, I have a 11 to 16 millimeter wide angle lens. I use the Tokinas that are super tack sharp. And then I have a 24 to 50 Canon, or I have Sony's as well. And then I go 24 to 70, 16 to 50, and then a 24 to 70, and then a 70 to 200. And then I have a 150 to 600. That's my zoom set, okay? And then I have a set of primes. Now, if you don't know the difference between a prime and a zoom, this is the Tokina 11 to 16. It's a zoom lens. This is a prime lens. They look a lot alike, but this is a fixed focal length lens. This is a Iowa. This is a specialty lens. It's called a rectilinear lens. It's a zero defect lens, and it's super wide. It's a 12 millimeter lens f2.8. And it has no defects on it. You can't, if you're shooting super wide like that, anytime you get beyond 16 millimeters, you get like the fisheye look. Okay, this is flat. So this is used for shooting architect and buildings and things where you have a lot of vertical lines, where you don't want to get that lens aberrations that you get on wide angles. Usually it's called bowing, or what's the other term for it? Same thing when you do a dolly, but if you've seen this, where you've seen buildings and shots, and the buildings on the edges are leaning out a little bit like that, and so that's it. But the thing with prime lenses is they have less glass in them, they're lighter, and so they're cheaper, and they can be faster. So most prime lenses, are f2 and below. Most zoom lenses, a fast zoom lens is considered a 2.8. They have more glass in them, they're more expensive. So this is, let's see what that is, cost. And the G series, you have a G series lens on yours. This is the G Master series, and those are $2,000. Yeah, exactly what I thought. You can buy the Sigma version of that for $1,000, half the price. But the G series, again, impeccable quality control on that, and that's what you're paying for on that. In terms of lighting, there was a lot of new lights that came out this year. Lighting is on this run of technology right now that is happening. You're seeing a couple really interesting things going on in lighting, and it wasn't that long ago. We're talking 8 years ago. When 9 years ago, when LEDs were first introduced, there was a company called Light Panels, and they had the LED market locked down. They actually filed a lawsuit so nobody else could do LED lighting, and they tried to keep it under control. And then the cat got out of the bag, and everybody started doing it. And of course, China picked up on it and did all the knockoffs and stuff. And so now it's crazy. So your lights, your Westcott lights that you get with your light kit have a multi-bulb in it. Do I have one of the bulbs here right now? It's a LED screw-in bulb that has a fan in it, which is not good, but it's got a lot of little bitty small LEDs on it. And then the next step up from that was these big giant chip LEDs, big chips. I've got an Aperture 60 back here, which is a good example of that. And of course, you came out with the panel lights, and there's ring lights and all that stuff. But you can see back over here, there's a ring light. This is the Aperture 60. It's a big, large chip. It's got a Fresnel lens on it. And then there's a panel light back there, a newer panel light. So I own a lot of panel lights. And there's a big ring light back there, which I use all the time for all kinds of cool stuff. So I just want to play a little bit from this video and show you some of the different lights. The big new light that came out was this light. Let's go in here. This is a new company, by the way. This is Polytech, I think is the name of it. Not Polytech, whatever. So this is a brand new lighting company. And this guy, they're going to show you a guy, Mitch Gross here. This is one of the sharpest guys in the industry for cameras. He used to be with a company called Able Cinetech, which is a big high-end rental company out of New York, LA, and Chicago. But they've come out with all these new things. And here's one of the new trends that you're going to see happen. This is a spot, a pattern maker. So this is like they put this on the front of a lens, and you can put gobo patterns in there and project gobo patterns on the back. Aperture just came out with a couple new ones as well. I just bought one for $500, waiting for it to come in. But this is kind of a new trend right now that everybody is wanting to get into these. Gordox is a company that has really come out, and they have come out with these. They were the ones who really, Newer and Gordox were the ones who really push the price level down on these lights. The Gordox 60 you can buy for $129, $139, and it's a single chip LED. As opposed to the 120 that Aperture came out. I think I spent $1,200 on my 120. It's about the same light output. So because of that, because of Newer and Gordox and companies like that, Aperture started coming out with newer, cheaper lights called the Amaron series. And you can see that's exactly what I ordered, I think, right there. The gobo or the projector, that's the Gordox one. I didn't order. I ordered the Aperture one. So here's the Aperture. Here's the big light that everybody. Here's the 60 that I have, and I ordered that's this light right back here, as a matter of fact. So I pre-ordered it months ago and got one of the first ones that came in the country, and I got the new softbox that they just introduced a couple weeks ago as well. And then I just ordered the new projector for that, and that's pretty cool. And if you don't know Ted, if you have, go to the Aperture YouTube site. It's one of the best lighting resources that you're going to find. They do all kinds of great videos. Here it is. That is the new 600C Pro. It's equivalent to about a 2.5K HMI, which used to cost, this is, I think, $2,000. HMIs would cost you about 11 grand, 12 grand. They were super, super hot and, just really really just like expensive, and the bulbs were a couple $100 each for the bulbs, and they were very fragile. If you fired them up, and they were hot, and then you turned them off, you couldn't turn them back on again until they cooled. This new light is like incredibly powerful. So it's what we're going to be using on our virtual stage, and everything is controlled. There's a Hive network that works. You can set up the lights as a Hive network and control them. I have two Aperture 300 X's. I have two 120s. I have a 60. I own a bunch of Aperture lights. I think they're probably one of the better light companies out there on the market. Ring lights are always big things. Here's the other big thing. This is a company called Astera, but there are tons of companies out there. Tube lighting. So tube lighting is not that expensive, but this is a big thing. RGB tube lighting. So you can buy these. These are expensive. The Asteras are expensive. They're going to run you, but the Astera has a number of different lights out there, for all kinds of theatrical and film and television use. This is a cheap wand light, and if this makes a really good additional light for you guys. And so let me show you. So this, it looks like a lightsaber. But you can come off and you can change the color. It's super, super bright. And you can see, you can get a pretty decent light out of this. And that's at 70%. And then I can go in and I can change this to be color. So I have RGB now. So I can put this in the background of my sets and stuff and do this. And this light was $89. So, and there are all kinds of price ranges for it. And they operate off of little, Sony FP batteries that you can buy for like, $25 for a big battery on that. So lots of new lighting. Look for these companies. Aperture, that's misspelled, by the way. So Aperture, Gordox, Nanlite, Astera, the new ones, the Amarons or Amaron, which is an offshoot of Armaron, and then the other big one is Newer. Newer just introduced one, and even not Small HD, but the company that I use for all my cages. You think they'd have their name on here somewhere? A Small Rig. So they make these little cages, but they just started coming out with their own lights as well. And again, the cost of those lights are coming way down. Let me just show you an example of this. So if you go in here and you go, Amaron 100D. Okay, this is the new Amaron 100D light from Aperture. This is it. So this is the size of the light. These are about $200. It's a daylight only light. You see the large LED chip that's in there. It can be controlled via app. You can change the different color. It's RGB. Or it's not RGB. It's daylight. But you can do all sorts of stuff. It has all kinds of effects on it. You can do fire effects and TV flicker, and the RGB ones could do police lighting. And again, it's it's under $200. The 60 that they just came out with is even cheaper. But this is the new family of lights. And then the Amarons, here we go. They do panel lights. Here's the F60 P60X. This is the little panel light that everybody's raving about right now. And they do individual bulbs. They do all kinds of stuff. But again, Aperture is one of those companies you really need to get to know. There are a bunch of new support stuff as well out there. A couple things I want to show you here that are really interesting. One of the big things that we're seeing right now.
What's going on, everyone? Seth Miranda here.
Is that more and more power out of it. Your camera takes 19 volts, by the way, the FX6, if you didn't know that. So a lot of companies are coming out, instead of with 14-volt cameras that have a step-up converter in it, they're coming out with 26-volt batteries that are huge, that you can put on these that will last all day. A brick battery is what it's called here. Let me go into YouTube and bring this up, see if I can bring this up full frame for you so you can see this.
If you're still trying to figure out how to start an online business, how to get people to actually buy
not
from you
trying
on
to
the
start an
internet,
online
there's some
business.
really good news for you that I think you're going to
Sam
find
part.
really encouraging.
So if we look at the batteries, I just want you to see the size of these batteries. This is one of the guys from Anton Bauer, and Anton Bauer was the they're the fathers of all the heavy duty batteries for brick batteries and stuff. There's Anton Bauer mounts and there's Sony V mounts. So you'll hear these brick batteries and V mounts. So you can see the different sizes of the battery. But look at the size of this battery. I mean, it's 26 volts. It's massive battery. That's the old battery. You can see the old ones.
But there's a little bit of a mechanical interference in the design,
Yeah.
so that this hood that covers the pins here, you can't put this on a 14-volt bracket. You can't damage it.
Yeah, so it's pretty amazing what those are out. And Anton Bauer also came out with these really small ones for cameras. This is Sockler. Now, Sockler has been an innovator in tripods. I'm a big Manfrotto fan, by the way. In case if anybody's looking for a new tripod, go to B&H Deal of the Day. They're offering the 504 Manfrotto, which is what I have here, beast of a tripod. It's like $549 for the head and the tripod, which is it's $350 off. So it's pretty amazing. But these guys, they came out with something called a Flowtech tripod. So you know how you have to put the individual tabs up on your legs to get the legs to raise and lower on your tripod. They have one lever. You lift up the lever, lift the tripod up, and the legs come down, and you put one lever down. It's pretty amazing. So they took that technology, and this blew me away when I saw it. They took this technology, because I'm always doing this. I have multiple tripods and multiple heads and stuff, and I'm always using them on sliders or on Dana dollies or on jibs and stuff. So you have to take it off the thing. This is the new technology that kind of blew me. Two simple things. You can see all their line of tripods here, but let's see here if he does this here. He's taking it off there already. So watch what he does here.
You've kind of expanded, if not completed, that whole idea.
Exactly. Yeah, so this is our new Active Ranger fluid heads.
The Active Ranger fluid heads.
It's pretty amazing.
Watch what he does.
Is we've incorporated the locking mechanism into the bottom of the head. So
the locking mechanism is in the bottom of the head. So take it off the tripod, you lift up one lever and the entire head comes off the tripod instead of unscrewing it all and putting it into the ball. It's pretty amazing. No other company has done that. Now, the other thing that blew me away.
So you'd have a tie down, you'd have to screw, level balance.
Is this.
Now it's built into the bottom of the head. So what this does is it gives you the ability to jump from so instead of
that. Okay, look at that. So that may not seem like a lot to you. Anybody know what that is? That's the bubble level on the camera. And so what they did is they put a prism bubble level. A prism bubble level is this. This is what a prism bubble level is. You can see it on multiple sides. It looks like a prism. That's why they call it that. And so they put a prism bubble level on there. So if you got the camera, you know how hard it is on your cameras. You got to tilt the camera down to look at the bubble level underneath the tripod head. This, you can look at the bubble level from pretty much anything. So for me, that was a really big innovative move on here. I included Deity. I own a couple Deity microphones. These are expensive microphones. I have a bunch of expensive microphones that I never get to use. But the cool thing about these guys is the simple things like this. This is a production slate. This is an expensive, time code slate. And so what you used to have to do is you used to have to go to the slate and then take a cable and then plug it into the BNC on your camera to sync up the time code on that. Okay. That was always a pain in the butt because you have to stop. These guys introduced the first Bluetooth syncable slate. Yeah, a simple thing, that should have been out there for a while, but it's crazy how much that is. I'm reading some of the emails there about the camera. So yeah, if you got the new camera system, don't screw those lights in. You'll break the lights. Don't screw them in tight. That's a problem with Westcott we've been working with. It's a manufacturer problem across the entire line of that type of light. If you do break your lights, call me. I'll tell you, some alternative lights. But this is a cool little thing. This is about $2,000 too. So, I still use my little, $25 production slate that I use. And in my bag, I keep just a pair of slappers. And then here's the Astera lights again. All kinds of new support out there for companies doing things. Here we go. This is some of the new stuff that's out there. And so I'm a big accessories guy. So I like to look at accessories when I'm out there.
And stay tuned at NA.
This is B&H. Oh, this is No Film Schools coverage. And they always send crazy people.
Get your products in front of potential customers.
And we're talking about accessories. The right accessory could make or break a shot in your film. That's why we're going inside. We're going to tons of booths, talking to the most innovative companies about what they're working on now. Let's go inside.
No Film School's NAB 2022 coverage is brought to you by Blackmagic Design and Creative Solutions.
When they go through here, he's talking about a bunch of different things.
Adapters.
One of the big new things that I saw in NAB this year was a 8-foot octabox. An 8-foot octabox, larger light source and softer light with a grid on it. These are all new. Everybody's coming out with new soft boxes that pop out. You don't have to put the little plugs and stuff in them and the little rods and stuff in it anymore. So that's always a big thing going on. This is these are all the new things. It may sound like a simple thing, but this is a dual battery charger for brick batteries that you can also power your camera up with as well. And you can power up all other devices. This is the first time that you can actually operate a light from it as well on there. And then this is, if you've never heard of this,
which you do normally.
This is a techno crane. One of the Emmys that I got was I was a technical producer on a Disney Christmas parade, and we brought in the techno crane. We brought in the 50. It wasn't the 50 plus. But we started at the statue of Walt Disney and Mickey in front of the castle, which is way out in front of the castle. And then Cinderella and her carriage rode up. And the technocrane started in front of the statue and extended out, straight out, went through the carriage, went through the middle of the carriage, and followed Cinderella and the prince up to the stage. I'm a firm believer that one camera move won us the Emmy that year. But the technocrane is an articulating crane that goes in and out. It folds in on itself. I don't think they show you here, but there's all kinds of stuff you can do with it. And of course, once you put a remote head on it,
wasn't able to come over because of a lockdown, but their products are here.
There's lots of other cameras here. And not only are you seeing high-end pro cameras, but you're seeing like GoPros there, and a lot of PZ cameras for churches and stuff like that. Tons of different gimbals. A lot of the Chinese companies. The reason there weren't as many vendors here is because a lot of the Chinese companies, like we were saying, are locked down. Bebop Engineering, which is an interesting company, they make all kinds of really cool gadgets. You can find their stuff at filmtools.com, which is kind of the big expendable store for everybody. What they're talking about here is wireless video transmitters. Accession is one of those companies that make wireless video transmitters. And these, if you're working on a reality show or anything with a client, you give them the iPad, you set this up, and then they can, do that wireless. And now your cameras, you can use Sony's Content Browser Mobile, where there's a free version and there's a paid version. The paid version is obviously a little bit more better. But the free version, CBN, that you can download from SonyCreativeSoftware.com, you can set up your camera so you can use your iPhone or your camera to control your camera. The other thing that nobody mentioned here that Sony's kind of keeping on the slide is Sony introduced an RCU, remote control unit, for the FX6. So you can sit at your desk and you can control everything about the camera with a little wireless remote control, which is pretty cool. So lots of really cool gadgets. How are we doing on time? I want to make sure I give everybody a chance to ask questions on here. Audio. So we'll talk a little bit about audio. Again, for the FX6, one of the cool things that was just introduced by Sony was this UWDP Gen 4 dual wireless microphone adapter. It's got a wireless receiver on it. And what you're seeing here is an adapter that Sony has for $75 that you can put on this dual wireless receiver, and you can put it into a hot shoe on top of your FX6, and you don't need any cables and you don't need any batteries. It automatically, sends, and if you go into your menu on the FS5 and the FX6, you'll see something that says shoe mic, and that's what that is. On the very top of your camera, on that back little plug, if you pull the plug out, there's an electronic connector in there. It's called a multi-interface shoe adapter. And so this is pretty cool. Again, $1,200 for this, but you get two wireless mics, so if you go out and buy the cheaper, individual mics. They're about $600 a piece. And I use Sony and I use Sennheiser wireless mics pretty much exclusively. Although I was talking to a student last night in the class and he was telling me about these new DJI mics, which I haven't used, but I was just really curious. These are cheap line of sight mics that use 3.5 millimeter adapters. So you'd have to get an XLR to 3.5 millimeter adapter to use it on your camera, but they're $329. And so there's really no microphone. This clips onto the person and you can talk. So there's all kinds of different options out there. What you're going to find is if you spend money on a cheap wireless microphone, you're going to get a cheap wireless microphone. The good wireless microphone is going to cost you about $600, and those are the Sennheiser 600 series and the Sony UWDP series. Those are the only two that I would highly recommend that you buy. Each of those wireless microphones is going to cost you about $600. You can get things with them that are called butt plugs, and they're basically little wireless adapters that plug into the end of your shotgun mic, and then you can use your shotgun mic as a wireless shotgun mic as well. And those usually run about $250. But this was a hot big new thing at NAB, this dual wireless adapter from Sony. See what else? Oh, and this is kind of the last thing we'll bring it. There's all these new things, and let's see if I have the Ergata sites up here. This is called what's the name of the company? Innovative Motion or something like that. They introduced this new really cool crane. It wasn't quite working. So it was really interesting to see them try to do this. I'm just trying to find, I had a web page of those guys up here somewhere. You'll see it. But let me just go in here. By the way, here's we were talking about, oh, no, that's it. Let's see. It's called the electronic dolly. And spell electronic, right? That would be better. Not even close. Not even close. Okay, let's see if we can pull this up. Maybe this is it. Yeah, this is what it looks like. This is pretty cool. It's a pretty cool looking device. Here's Premium Beats, the other big website that I go to all the time. The electronic dolly runs free, and this is what it looks like. So it looks like one of those, what's the BattleBots TV show? It looks like a BattleBot, but you can put all kinds of cameras and stuff on it, and it's rugged as can be. It can go over pretty much anything. Now, the weird thing about all this is if you go in here, you're not going to see a whole lot of video of this. When they did the Kickstarter campaign for this, they had all kinds of video out there, but for some reason they're just not releasing a whole lot of video. And I guess because they had some problems at ADB. It's called Motion Impossible. So this is the Agito. It's one of the cooler things that I think a lot of people were kind of anxious to see at NAB, but I don't think it really, maybe there's a video here. Let's see if we can get a video so you can see what it looks like. When you see it working, it's pretty amazing. And it's got a 3-axis steady gimbal on it, so even though it's rocking all over the place, it's pretty amazing. And it goes pretty fast. I think it goes up to 45 miles an hour. So there's all kinds of really cool things that you can do. You can put a riser on it as well. And so if you're doing those dolly moves, the 360 dolly moves, you don't have to lay down track anymore. So a lot of people were excited about this. I hear they had a lot of issues with it at NAB working. And I think a lot of it had to do with all the wireless that's going on at NAB. So that's basically it. We're just about to wrap up. Anybody have any questions about NAB or about anything else for that matter? No.
Yeah, I have one question.
Yeah.
Are you able to fly to North Carolina and set up my camera and equipment?
No.
All right, just had to ask.
But we go through in week one of my class, there are 2 live classes, and they're bears. They're 2.5 hours to 3 hours each. And so in the first live class, what we do is we walk you through how to set up the entire menu structure. And we walk you through the status menu, the main menu, and then we walk you through how to set up the user menu. And we give you some overview about how to set the camera on the tripod so you don't break it. Again, if you open up the box, as soon as you take that knife and slit open that box, you're responsible for that equipment. So just know that. So for a lot of you who have equipment, this is a website you should know. Let me just bring this up. Professional Photographers of America, PPA.com. And so we can't tell you, okay, you can talk to your homeowners or you can talk to your renter's insurance and see about, getting equipment insurance. It's usually anywhere from about $100 a month, depending on the gear and stuff like that. It will add to you, or you can go to outside companies and get that specialize in production gear insurance. And they're usually about $100 a month, which is expensive. But when you're talking about you've got $10,000 worth of gear, and if it breaks and you only have to pay $500 to have it replaced or stolen, that's a pretty sweet deal. It's like any insurance, that's what it is. PPA, and so because insurance is different from state to state, we can't say use this insurance company or this insurance company, but PPA, Professional Photographers of America, part of their membership, and I think they got a really sweet student deal. I'm not quite sure whether the insurance is covered under that. I don't know. I'll have to check in. It's $79 a year, I think, for students, but if you're a professional, it's $45 a month to belong to these guys. And it includes $15,000 worth of production gear. And this is the best gear equipment I've ever seen, the best policy. It's really pretty sweet. So we always recommend that to students. In the second live class of my class, by the way, we go through every button, switch, and knob. We go through how to set up the tripod, how to set up the lights, and then we go through how to focus the camera, white balance the camera, expose the camera, all that stuff, so you're ready to shoot your week one assignment. You shoot something every week in my class. So for those of you who are coming up through the field, start using Adobe Rush. And start using the camera capture for Adobe Rush, because you have to know what ISO, shutter speed, white balance, ND filters, you got to know all that stuff by the time you hit my class. If you don't, it's going to be a very difficult class for you. If you talk to anybody in the class, everybody's shaking their head. Yeah, it is.
Seriously.
Yeah. So we're really making a big push to try to get that stuff from this point on, most like in the intro to production 1 and intro to post-production and portfolio 2. I know you use Rush in Andy's class and Ronald's class, but we're really putting a heavier emphasis on that now, so that everything you have to shoot with your iPad and your iPhone is going to be with Adobe Rush. So that's it. Oh, the other thing, C2C thing that I didn't talk about here was I'm blanking on the name now. It's an app I have on my phone. It's the app that you can use for your iPhone to shoot movies with. I have too many apps. Filmic Pro. Makes I found that. Filmic Pro. It won Sundance 3 years ago with Flamingo. They shot it on a phone using Filmic Pro. But now you can do Filmic Pro with your iPhone and go camera to cloud. So it's pretty cool. Okay. You get your class in month 10. That's called Composition and Visual Design. You actually get the last week of Portfolio 1. How many videos of cameras Rex are we going to see when the RC Dolly comes out? Well, you see a lot. There's a great website out there called Bad Rigs that, and they show all kinds of cameras getting destroyed all the time. If you don't know what a Russian arm is, it's a big arm that protrudes off the pickup truck, or they use a lot of Mercedes, high-end Mercedes, and they mount the camera on that. And it goes, it is basically a stabilizer and a long jib arm. And there was just a video that was released about 3 months ago of one coming loose and hitting the ground, and the area Alexa just shattering into a million pieces because they didn't have it secured right. So you see a lot of those things, but you'll see some of the worst rigging things you've ever seen in your life. Rigging was another big thing at NAB, how to rig cameras on cars and stuff. That was always a big thing. Any other questions before we go tonight? I'll have this posted here in the next couple of weeks so you can see this. Anybody not in the last thing, what I'm going to do is I'm going to upload for you a couple files real fast here. The first file is going to be the DCBUZZ DCBS resource guide that I put together for that DCBUZZ, and it's about a 26-page guide. And let me just show you this real fast. I'll throw it down here in the messages. There it is. But let me open this up and show it to you real fast and show you what it is. Okay, here we go. This is what it looks like. DCBS resource guide. Let's pull that right in. So it's here's the table of contents: top online job resources, top crewing companies, top film and video companies, Full Sail career development, top job site companies, top 50 film and TV websites, film and television magazines, professional organizations, professional guilds and unions, color correction grading sites, audio sites, film and video online learning sites, newsreaders, YouTube video and film and video bloggers, it goes on and on. Internship sites, U.S. Film Commission's office, social media sites and data, filmmaking apps, must-read free resources, which include that Frame.io, and then a whole list of free music and sound effects libraries. It's incredible. You know, it's my top 50 websites on here. Again, if I apologize up front because this is going to take up a lot of your time, but you should get to know all these sites. Premium Beat, Studio Binder, No Film School, Film Riot, Filmmaker IQ. Anybody ever seen Film Riot? Ryan Connolly? You visit that site? Ryan is a Full Sail grad. You know, XD User Cam, if you got the FX5 or the FX6, you need to know this guy, Alistair Chapman. He's an Australian dude who is the smartest. There's probably a handful of people who know these cameras better than I do. Alistair's one of those. And do I have the Black and Blue, which is an AC site? If you're looking for apps for film and television, this is the one to go to. Filmmaker Magazine, which I belonged to for 30 years, believe it or not. But the B&H Explora blog, which we were just on there, there's all these. And then you keep going down, and then we have, here's all the Facebook pages for CVD and Full Sail, film and video magazines, a whole list of film and video magazines, professional organizations, so all that stuff. Now, the other thing that I'm going to download for you here is this 29-month plan. For those of you just starting out, this is something you should understand as well. So this is a plan, success plan that I developed. And so the point of this is to tell you what classes you're in and what months. So if you look here, you can tell what the classes are. And I don't know all of these, what they are, but English, intro to film and video, screenwriting, new media, intro to post-production, portfolio 1, CVD, art history, portfolio 2, fundamentals of production 1, math, fundamentals of production 2, portfolio 3, OLLL, I'm not sure what that is. So some of them I don't know the abbreviations for, but it's all 29 months of the degree program. And what you'll see here is there's little things in here that you have. And you have project number 1, project number 2, industry resources, and passive income. So what this is all about is, you have to learn outside of this. This is accelerated degree program. In this, once you get the camera, you're going to have 19 months left. And out of that 19 months, 5 of those are gen ed classes. 4 of those are classes you're not going to shoot in. So that only leaves you 12 months of shooting projects and classes. That's not enough to put together a awesome demo reel or website or portfolio. So you need to be doing projects on your own. And what I always propose is this. Try to do 2 projects on your own. Even if it's just going out and shooting a shot or a time-lapse shot or a slow-mo shot, or, and my process is this. If you can shoot it in write it in half a day, shoot it in half a day, and edit in half a day, you can do 2 of them a month. If you try to do more than that, you're not going to be able to do it. So if you want to do a short film, you don't have to do the entire short film. All you got to do is like one scene from a short film, 7 or 8 shots. That's it. That's great to have on a demo reel or a website or a portfolio. If you want to do a music video, you don't have to do the whole music video. You only do part of the music video, stanza of the music. Do a 30-second commercial, do a 30-second PSA, do a 1 minute long branded video for the internet. If you want to do a training video, do part of it. So you don't have to do entire projects. You only have to do part of it. And you need to do 1 or 2 of those a month. So you need to make a list. Your digital cinematography degree program. If you think you're going to get through this program without shooting or having to really seriously know how to shoot, it's no. A lot of people fail my class because they're 10 months into the degree program and they don't know the technology of photography and cinematography. You got to know that stuff. We can't let you through this degree program if you don't know how to operate a camera. It's a digital cinematography program. I don't care if you want to be a writer or an editor or a producer or a director. You have to know how to shoot in this degree program. That's what it's all about. And so you got to do these projects on your own. And they do 2 things. They give you enough extra location lighting. Oh, Ryan Funk, one of my favorite guy. Thanks, Gio. If you don't know Gio Swan, by the way, everybody get to know Gio Swan. You're going to have him for media management coming up here. Incredible guy. He's also our, what's your official title? Mobility and data management. But you're also our, I'm trying to think of what your title is. I always get it confused with what is your title, Gio?
I'd take a little bit to put my mic on. Yeah, I'm the department chair.
Department chair. Yeah, that's it. So he's the big guy, so get to know Gio, and he's a remarkable instructor and really a great resource for just about anything you want to know. So back to this. So these are the 2 projects you need. You need to make a list of these projects, what you want to do, and think about what you want to do in each class. And then industry resources. My mentor used to say to me all the time, and I kind of blew him off until I got out of college, and I was like, that guy is wise beyond his years. He used to say to me, do something every day to move yourself forward to your goal. One thing, no matter how big or small. And he said to me, at the end of the year, you have done 365 things to push yourself towards your goal of what you want to do. It's kind of hard not to be successful if you do that. So, develop industry resources. Find a professional organization that you want to do a meetup group, read a magazine, join a user group online, start looking at those 50 websites and do that. So those are all things that you need to be doing. Go out and meet people, find out who the production companies are in your area, make a list of them, go out and shoot with them. Now, again, one of the things about this camera that's going to open up really big, doors for you is that if you can go into a company that is a local company that you want to work for and say, hey, I want to do my production hours with you. I want to do an internship with you. I've got an FX6. So if you need somebody to come out and shoot the behind the scenes videos of you doing productions, I can do that. And so here's the thing you may not know. If you're doing a television show or a commercial or any type of production, there's always behind the scenes stuff going on because they use that for social media. And if you're doing a television show for a network, there are requirements. You have to shoot so many behind the scenes stills every day. You have to do so much behind the scenes video every day. And at least once during the run of a show, a season of a show, you have an entire crew that comes down from the network and shoots a behind the scenes thing about the show. So, that will open up doors. Now, the 4th thing on this list is passive income. So if you don't know what passive income is, that's income that you produce something once and then you make money off of it over and over again. If you're eating breakfast, if you're asleep, you're still making money. And the big one for you guys who are getting this camera, obviously because it's such a high-end camera, is stock footage. But there are other things down here. So if you go down here to the end, we kind of walk you through what these are. The types of projects you need to do, the types of industry resources that you need to do, and the types of passive income. So beyond stock footage and photos, there's, ebooks, e-courses, and workshops, which is a huge thing with companies like Udemy and places like that. LUTs, if you don't know what a LUT is, that's a lookup table. It's just Word, it's documents. You just type them in, and there's all kinds of apps out there. You can go in and create your own LUTs. They're not difficult to learn how to do. I create all my own LUTs and all my own picture profiles for FS5. And then there's gear rental out there. So there's this new collaborative gear rental, and I don't have the names of the companies in here right now, and I'm always forgetting them, but their Gear Share is one of them. And so they're people like you who own gear, and they rent that gear to other people in the area. Now you have to be careful. You have to have, get good insurance. So you have to get their credit cards in case they steal their gear or, break the gear and stuff like that. That you can do it. But also creating, custom music and sound effects and graphics and animation. If you have any of that inclination, you can do that. Or monetizing YouTube, with advertisements and stuff. And that's what all the big bloggers are doing. If you're a Casey Neistat fan or a Peter McKinnon fan or a Matt Hoopla fan, or, all those different guys that are out there on there, and you'll see them all in that directory that I gave you. Those guys are making pretty much most of their living by monetizing their YouTube sites. Now, Peter McKinnon, every time he posts a video, he gets 1 million views, 1 million views. So that's really where the money is. Monetization is hard. You have to have, 100,000 viewers really start making money really good. Double click on the link above to save on your computer. Yep. Okay, great. Okay, so that's pretty much it for me. Anybody else have any questions or, if you really want to go out and look at NAB stuff, go to B&H, go to Adorama and look at their overviews. Go to Production Hub, go to Film School and look at their overviews, and you'll get a really good idea of what all the equipment is. B&H does a really great job of that, by the way. So that's the first place I would send you to. Copy this, we can have access to. Yeah, you can download. Oh, I see, Christine. You can download that. Great. Okay. Anything else before we go? Thanks for sticking around so long. I really appreciate it. And if you need anything, anybody has any questions, you can reach out to me. My email is rdbaker@fullsail.com. So that's it right there. So don't hesitate to shoot me a line. Thanks for joining us, and we'll have this posted up in a couple of weeks for everybody to take a look at. Cool. Okay.